Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Emma Fillipoff was a vibrant, creative young woman who vanished under mysterious circumstances in 2012, just days before her 27th birthday. Born and raised in Ontario, Canada, Emma had a gentle, introspective nature and was known for her artistic spirit. She loved poetry, photography, and dance, and often poured her emotions into journals and other creative outlets. Friends and family described her as deeply sensitive and caring, someone who connected closely with animals and nature. Her upbringing was marked by a strong bond with her mother, though Emma also craved independence and self-discovery. Seeking a quieter life and a fresh start, Emma moved to Victoria, British Columbia. In 2011, she was drawn to the city's peaceful atmosphere and the natural beauty that surrounded it. Victoria seemed to offer the calm she needed to reflect, write, and live at her own pace. She often lived a minimalist lifestyle, staying at a women's shelter off and on, while maintaining a sense of freedom that was important to her. Despite some financial instability, Emma appeared to be exploring life on her own terms. In the months leading up to her disappearance, Emma's mental health appeared to deteriorate. Her journals revealed intense emotional turmoil and growing anxiety. People around her noticed that her behavior had become increasingly erratic. She sometimes seemed confused, spoke in riddles, or avoided contact with others. She would frequently walk alone, barefoot and withdrawn, and began to isolate herself more and more. Though it was clear she was struggling internally, Emma never reached out for formal mental health support. Her final months were marked by a haunting solitude, and the mystery of what happened to her remains unsolved, leaving behind a trail of questions and deep heartache for those who knew and loved her in the days leading up to her disappearance. Emma Fillipoff was staying at the Sandy Merriman House, a women's shelter in Victoria, British Columbia. She had been living there on and off for several months, often coming and going unpredictably. Staff and fellow residents noticed a pattern of conflicting behavior on some days. She seemed upbeat, even joyful, making art or chatting with others. But on other days, Emma appeared anxious and fearful. She would withdraw into herself, express paranoid thoughts, or seem convinced that someone was following her. This sudden shifting between light and dark moods became more pronounced in the final weeks of November 2012. On November 28th, the day Emma disappeared, her actions grew increasingly erratic. That morning, she visited a 7-Eleven convenience store multiple times, pacing outside and appearing confused on security footage. She bought a prepaid cell phone and a pack of cigarettes, though she was not known to smoke regularly. At one point that day, she called a local taxi company, asking for a ride to the airport, but when the cab arrived, she refused to get in, saying she didn't have enough money, despite the driver offering to take her anyway. She spent much of the afternoon wandering barefoot around downtown Victoria, carrying her belongings in plastic bags. That evening, Emma was spotted standing outside the Empress Hotel. A concerned citizen called the police, worried about her unusual behavior. When officers arrived, they spoke with her for about 45 minutes. Though she seemed disoriented and vulnerable, she convinced them she was fine and declined any help. That encounter would become the last confirmed sighting of Emma Fillipoff. Tragically, Emma's mother, Shelley Fillipoff, had flown to Victoria that same day, deeply concerned about her daughter's state of mind. She arrived just hours after Emma was last seen, unaware that her daughter had already vanished. Despite extensive searches, media coverage, and tireless efforts by her family, Emma has never been found. Her disappearance remains one of Canada's most haunting and heartbreaking missing persons cases. The investigation into Emma Fillipoff's disappearance began with frustrating limitations and missteps. When police first responded to the call outside the Empress Hotel on the night of November 28, 2012, they spoke with Emma, but ultimately let her go, concluding she wasn't a threat to herself or others. After she vanished just hours later, the initial police response lacked a sense of urgency. Because there were no signs of violence or immediate foul play, authorities did not treat her case as high risk in the crucial early hours. This delay would later draw criticism, especially from Emma's family, who believed the situation demanded more immediate action. One of the key pieces of evidence that did surface was security footage from a 7-Eleven taken on the day she went missing. The video shows Emma barefoot, clearly distressed and pacing back and forth. She enters and exits the store multiple times, as if unsure of where to go or what to do next. The footage is deeply unsettling. Emma appears lost in thought, wary, and overwhelmed. It provides a haunting glimpse into her state of mind in the hours before she disappeared. Another troubling discovery came shortly after her disappearance, when police found Emma's van parked near the waterfront. It was packed with her personal belongings, art supplies, poetry, handwritten journals, digital cameras, and a laptop. The van painted a picture of someone who had been living a semi-nomadic lifestyle, but also someone who was deeply introspective and perhaps struggling emotionally. Despite the amount of personal material, none of it offered clear clues about her plans or whereabouts. As time passed, the investigation stalled due to a lack of consistent leads. Police distributed missing persons posters, and the public became increasingly involved, with sightings reported across Canada, but none were ever confirmed. Emma's mother led a grassroots awareness campaign, refusing to let her daughter's story fade. Yet the case remains unsolved. No physical evidence has ever surfaced to explain what happened that night. No confirmed witness saw Emma after the police interaction. The uncertainty around her disappearance, combined with the eerie evidence left behind, has left her loved ones and the public with more questions than answers, and a lingering sense of sorrow in the years following Emma Fillipoff's disappearance. A number of strange sightings and leads kept the mystery alive, some hopeful, others disturbing. One of the most talked-about developments occurred in 2014, nearly 2 years after Emma vanished. A man was spotted in Gastown, a neighborhood in Vancouver, acting strangely with one of Emma's missing persons posters. A witness reported that he was taking the poster down and stuffing it into his jacket. When approached and asked why he was removing it, he allegedly said, "She's not missing, she's my girlfriend. She ran away because she hates her parents." The witness, unsettled by the interaction, reported it to police, who circulated a composite sketch. Despite this eerie encounter, the man was never identified, and his connection to Emma remains unknown. Over the years, tips and alleged sightings have poured in from all across Canada. Some people claim to have seen Emma living off the grid or traveling with transient communities. Others offer bizarre stories, including suggestions that she joined a cult or faked her own disappearance. A few leads have seemed credible, like potential sightings in Vancouver, Ontario, and even as far as the Maritimes, but none have ever been verified. Many were the result of people with good intentions misidentifying someone who looked like Emma. Throughout all of this, Emma's mother, Emma Fillipoff, has remained at the heart of the search, determined not to let her daughter be forgotten. Shelley has appeared on CBC's The Fifth Estate, participated in numerous podcasts, and maintained a strong presence on social media. Her tireless efforts have helped keep Emma's case in the public eye, but the emotional toll has been immense. Shelley has said she feels like she's lived in a state of suspended grief, unable to mourn, yet unable to find closure. Setup for Emma's case has received hundreds of calls, ranging from potentially useful information to outright hoaxes. Each call brings a mix of hope and dread for her family. False alarms and dead ends have created a cycle of disappointment that has worn heavily on those closest to her. Despite the years that have passed, the strange sightings and unresolved leads only add to the haunting uncertainty that surrounds Emma Fillipoff's disappearance, a case that continues to baffle investigators, captivate the public, and break the hearts of those who loved her in the absence of concrete answers. Several theories have emerged over the years in the case of Emma Fillipoff, each attempting to explain what might have happened on the night of November 28, 2012. These theories range from plausible to deeply troubling. And though none have been definitively proven, each paints a different picture of Emma's final moments and possible fate. One of the most discussed possibilities is that Emma voluntarily disappeared. Given her increasing emotional distress, journal entries filled with introspective thoughts, and her deep need for solitude, Some believe she may have chosen to vanish and start over elsewhere. She had shown signs of wanting to escape her current life, calling a taxi to the airport, packing and repacking her belongings. She may have reached a tipping point and made a conscious, if desperate, decision to walk away. If this theory's true, it suggests that Emma was seeking peace. But it raises further questions. How did she survive without identification, money, or contacting anyone she loved? Another theory centers on foul play. Emma was last seen alone, vulnerable, and clearly in distress. As of 2025, Emma Fillipoff remains missing, and her case is still officially unsolved. It has now been over a decade since she was last seen outside the Empress Hotel in Victoria, British Columbia. And despite widespread public interest, there have been no confirmed sightings or substantial leads in all that time. Her disappearance continues to baffle investigators, frustrate her loved ones, and draw concern from advocates for missing persons. Emma's mother, Shelley Fillipoff, remains the driving force behind ongoing efforts to find her. She continues to raise awareness through media appearances, social media campaigns, and by maintaining missing person posters in various communities. Shelley has refused to let the public forget Emma's name, even as the years pass and active investigation efforts have faded. Grassroots efforts like podcasts, documentaries, and missing persons organizations have helped keep Emma's story alive in the minds of many. Despite this, there has been little recent engagement from law enforcement. The case has not been closed, but it has grown cold, with no new evidence, tips, or investigative breakthroughs reported in recent years. The lack of official momentum has been a source of pain for Emma's family, who believe more could still be done. Emma's disappearance remains one of Canada's most enduring and heartbreaking mysteries, a reminder of how someone can vanish in plain sight and how easily the vulnerable can slip through the cracks. Her family continues to hold on to hope, however distant, that answers may still come. Emma Fillipoff's disappearance is a haunting, heartbreaking mystery filled with troubling clues but no clear answers. In the days leading up to November 28, 2012, Emma's mental state was increasingly fragile. She oscillated between joy and fear, clarity and confusion. The security footage of her pacing barefoot in a 7-Eleven just hours before she vanished captures a woman invisible, distressed, disoriented, uncertain, and possibly overwhelmed by her inner struggles. Her final confirmed interaction with police outside the Empress Hotel marks the last time anyone saw her. Since then, there's been no trace in theories, unanswered questions, and the deep pain of her absence. Emma's story is more than just a cold case. It's a window into the complex realities of mental health, vulnerability, and the agony families endure when a loved one goes missing. Her mother's relentless efforts over the past decade are a testament to a parent's love and the enduring hope that one day Emma will be found or her fate will be known. For every person like Emma, there are countless others who vanish without explanation, families left navigating a painful limbo. We also invite you to respectfully share your thoughts, theories, or questions in the comments. Your voice may help keep Emma's story alive. Post-credits bonus segment. In recent interviews, Emma's mother continues to plead for public help, often attending community vigils held in Emma's memory. She's worked with podcast creators and journalists to spotlight similar cases, highlighting the need for better mental health support and more resources for missing adults. Emma's case is not alone. Stories like those of Maura Murray and Brandon Swanson share eerie parallels: young people, unexplained disappearances, and families left without answers. By exploring these stories together, we can shed light on the overlooked and bring hope to the forgotten. Asterisk. One explanation that has haunted Emma Fillipoff's family is the possibility that she purposely walked away from her life. Her journals reveal a young woman wrestling with the desire to be free of obligations and with a simultaneous dread of being trapped socially, emotionally, even spiritually. In the weeks before she vanished, she told friends she might travel, talked about leaving Victoria, and packed her belongings into her van more than once. She bought a prepaid phone and called a taxi for the airport, actions that suggest planning. That she never boarded a flight, never accessed bank accounts, and never used the new phone. Voluntary disappearances do happen, but sustaining one usually requires resources, identification, or help from someone, none of which surfaced in her case. Still, the idea lingers. Perhaps Emma, overwhelmed by her anxiety, chose silence and invisibility over confrontation and has remained hidden by design. Equally plausible is that someone else chose fate for her. After the late-night police check outside the Empress Hotel, Emma walked off alone barefoot, visibly vulnerable, and carrying 2 large bags. Downtown Victoria has transient traffic and a steady nightlife. A predator could have noticed her condition and seized an opportunity. The unsettling 2014 incident, in which a stranger tore down her missing person poster and claimed Emma was his girlfriend, underscores the risk. Yet investigators never uncovered physical evidence of an assault, and no witness reported a struggle. Foul play remains a chilling possibility precisely because it can occur swiftly, leaving no trace but absence. A third line of thought centers on a full-blown mental health crisis, Emma's erratic swings. Cheerful one moment, paranoid the next, hint at a mind fragmenting under pressure. Her repeated entries and exits at the 7-Eleven, her barefoot pacing, and her cryptic conversations with shelter staff all point to disorientation bordering on psychosis. In that state, she could have wandered toward the waterfront, into thick coastal brush, or even into the frigid harbor waters that edge the city. Victoria's rugged shoreline offers countless places where a person in distress might succumb to hypothermia or injury without ever being found. The heartbreaking logic of this theory matches her documented fear and confusion. Yet search teams scoured land and water for weeks with no result, leaving only uncertainty in their wake. The darkest scenario involves exploitation. Homeless or transient young women are disproportionately targeted for trafficking, forced sex work, or labor under coercion. Emma's lack of consistent housing, her frequent nights at shelters, and her visible distress may have made her a prime target for recruiters who use kindness as a lure. Such networks often move victims quickly across jurisdictions. Emma's striking appearance and soft-spoken demeanor might have been seen as marketable traits. Families of trafficking victims regularly report a complete communications blackout, similar to Emma's disappearance. No concrete evidence links her case to organized trafficking, but the absence of any sign of her papers, money, or digital footprint keeps this possibility alive. Each theory both illuminates and obscures. Choosing to vanish fits her longing for quiet but clashes with her lack of means. Foul play explains the sudden silence, yet offers no forensic proof. A mental health spiral accounts for her behavior, but not the total lack of remains. Trafficking exploits her vulnerability, but leaves no financial or online breadcrumbs. What these scenarios share is the brutal reality that a sensitive, autistic, 26-year-old struggling under the weight of her own mind could slip into a gap in the social fabric. And 10 years later, that gap has not closed. For Emma's loved ones, the theories are less about speculation and more about care. Every possibility must stay on the table, because any could lead to the truth. They continue to sift incoming tips, study potential sightings frame by frame, and push for renewed police attention. Until the day a definitive answer surfaces. The theories remain for imperfect mirrors, each reflecting part of the mystery, none revealing the whole.